So, hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. I'm your host, spiritual counselor, and intuitive guide, Victoria Shaw. And today, I just wanted to pop in front of the microphone because I haven't for a while, and the camera too, which is a new thing for me. So, bear with me on that one. But it's been a while. It's been a while. And, I've been podcasting now for 4 years, and the Intuitive Connection, 5 years, and the Intuitive Connection podcast is 5 years old. And it's been an absolute incredible journey. I've made some of my favorite friendships from doing this, so many connections. And I know that I've also reached out to so many of you. And more now, as I've been doing this for a while, I get to hear back from people that have been following the podcast. And I get to hear your stories about how the episodes have impacted you. And I just want to say that, when I have those moments when someone says to me, "Wow, Victoria, I love your podcast. It's made such a huge impact in my life." And this thing that you said in this episode, or that guest in that episode, like it was just exactly what I needed to hear to have this big, aha moment. It's like that's what we're on the planet for, or at least that's what I'm on the planet for. And so I'm just so grateful to you. And I'm so grateful to this platform for letting me do what I love to do, which is being a channel, being a guide, and being part of this great transformation that we have happening collectively and individually, and just also, as much as I can, being a positive impact on so many lives. And so I just wanted to open with that because, sometimes when I'm sitting here looking at myself in the Zoom camera and speaking to an audience that I don't get to see, I forget about that. I forget about how powerful the work that I get to do is. And I'm grateful. I'm just really grateful. And today, what I want to do, I have about 15 minutes or so before my lovely son arrives. His plane touches down, and he finds his way to mom's home. And I'm really excited to see him. But while I'm waiting in with bated breath, I thought I would kind of tune in and see what wanted to come through for the podcast today, because it's been a while since I've recorded. And those of you who watch the show know, I've heard me say before, that I batch record. So I just record when I feel the inspiration. Usually I don't record every week. I don't have an agenda. It's not a job to me. It's a joy to me. And so I just record when I just feel like popping on. But there are these dry periods, right, where I'm not popping on, and for better or for worse, and you won't notice that on the other end because we batch record. So I always have lots of episodes to do, even if I haven't sat down the microphone for a while. But this one is inspired by someone who I feel in my energy and what I call my spirit spot, someone who is very near and dear to me, that has been, I wouldn't necessarily say a guide, but definitely a spirit friend since he crossed over in 2023. And that is my beloved father. And he's being really funny right now. And I was looking at the podcast episode schedule, and I was realizing that we have an episode in a couple weeks that is going to drop on his birthday. And so I was wondering if he wanted to come play and tell us what life is like over in the spirit realm 2 years after his beautiful passing. And some of you guys that know the story, I'm just like telling him, "Oh, cool your jets." Some of you guys that know the story, in 2023, I lost both my parents in the same year, but I lost, and they weren't at all related to it. I mean, they were related. They were married once, but they hadn't been living together in communication for a very long time. So, it was kind of a random coincidence. But when my dad passed, it was very shocking. It was very surprising. It was very unexpected. And one of the gifts to me, and partially because I'm a medium, and partially, I don't know, just that's how it flowed for me. But one of the gifts for me, and one of the things that helped me so much through that experience, was that I was able to connect with his spirit right away. And for many months, I felt that he was very close to me. And then I felt that he moved away. I was going to do an episode with him for Father's Day, and you guys can go back and listen to that. And it was like funny. I sat down to record it and I was like, wait, where did you go? Because what happens, the guides say, is that, as we cross over, sometimes we are, I don't know how to, they say, just explain it in simple terms. There's a sense in which that, at first we are more enmeshed and around that human world, but eventually, we move away, we move on to do other things. And so, at that point, he was doing that, like, right, he wasn't caretaking my grief as much anymore. We weren't, there wasn't so much to do. But he's still very much in my world. When I call on him, when I need him, I feel his energy. I often feel his energy combined with the energy of his parents. And occasionally too, because my relationship with my mother was far more complicated. Sometimes he softens the blow if she's coming on, but oftentimes too, like my dad has been, it's been really cool to have conversations with him from the other side. And there's some drops of wisdom that he's given me about his life. And it's cool because I know stuff about his life too. But he shared with me, like how he experiences his life now that he crossed over. Right. And having known him in physical form and then also knowing him in spirit form, that's really cool for someone like me who is just like a spiritually curious soul. And so it's really a gift and a benefit. And I feel his energy around me too, and his love around me too. And one of the things that I will tell you from my experience is, while I had a complicated relationship with both of my parents, just because I just think that they showed up how they showed up, and they were both limited in their own special ways. Um, Definitely felt my dad's love for me more directly, and there was definitely a stronger human bond, but like the ways in which we didn't relate to each other on the human realm, it's not necessarily that everything's been restored on the spiritual realm, but I can say that I feel his love more directly, more radiantly, more, what's the word? Warmly, more powerfully since he's crossed over. It's a different experience. And I know he loved me. And I'm so grateful that at the end of his life, he told me quite frequently how much he loved me. And that, that wasn't something I remember from early on, though he showed it in other ways. But that was a really nice kind of parting gift because, every text and every communication was him sharing how much he loved me. And I'm telling him right now, in case he doesn't know, that was balm for my heart. And I know too, and I don't know, I'm sure he knows this now, but for me, because it was complicated, I didn't always trust that. I didn't always trust. There was a distance that I put there, and especially at the end when he softened, like there wasn't a level of trust of like, oh yeah, I can trust you, dude. You're gonna, like, you mean this. And I just want him to know, and I know he knows, but it just feels like this is the time to say it now, that I know at the end of your life, when you were thinking things through, that it was the time when you were able to really experience your love for me. And I'm really grateful for that. And I hear you saying that. And now my dad, because he is a ham. If you think I'm a ham, I got it from him. He is coming on, and sometimes it's really funny when he first crossed over, still my podcast dude. When he first crossed over, every time I would see him, he would be like tap dancing. He'd be like, I'm so happy. And he'd be like tap dancing on the other side. He was not a tap dancer. But he was an entertainer in his own way, here in this human world. And right now he's in a top hat with like and a cane and little tappy shoes, and he wants to come and entertain us. So dad, here you are. What do you want to share with myself and the listeners today? It's not today, but today when this goes live, your what would have been, I believe, if my math is correct, your 82nd birthday. And he says what he wants us to know. He says, one of the things I've learned, he says, first of all, oh, my beautiful daughter, I've learned a lot from watching you. And I learned a lot from watching you as a parent when I was in my physical body. But I've learned even more from watching you now from that distance. He says that when I watched you as a mother, it was so surprising to me, um, because because you were so much more involved than we ever were, and I just didn't really understand you. But he said there was more respect than I showed. He's like, I wasn't really paying attention. But he says the way that I see you now and the mark that you've made on the people in your world, and not just your children, but all the people that you've touched in your life. He says, Victoria, my darling daughter, I just want you to know that I think you are remarkable. He says, I want you to know I think you are remarkable. And sometimes, this is from the guides, but I hear this from my dad too. He said, sometimes it takes a little time, it takes a little difference. It takes a little remembering of who we are for us to see the people in our lives the way they long to be seen and also the way that they deserve. And so this is a message to me, but he says it's also a message to all of your viewers out there, that maybe don't feel heard or seen or loved from the people in their lives, like their parents or or their spouses, or but particularly he says the people that are really supposed to love them, right? And especially the ones that raised them, he said, because that he says that's so common. And he said, as he says, as as a retired father, that's really funny. All right, father, he goes, or father in spirit form. He's like, I can see you in a way that I couldn't feel fully see you before. And he just says, you are remarkable. And he wants all of you guys out there to know, even though he says, I can't see you all because like I'm too busy. He's so funny. It's like I'm too busy like looking at my own navel. But he says like Victoria wants you to know, right? By my sharing this with her and her taking it in, Victoria wants you to know that all of your loved ones, in bodies or not, on some level, they feel the same way about you. They see you exactly how you want to be seen. They love you. They are with you. And just sometimes he says they're too blinded by their own version of reality to see you as you really deserve to be seen. Okay. So that's the first message from my dad. And I love it. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time taking that in. And then the second thing he's showing me on the same theme, and this is really beautiful, he's showing me that he's here with his parents, and I see them both. And both of my dad's parents are spirit friends that sometimes come and play with me. My grandparents, my grandfather. We did an episode with my grandfather, and I have a deep connection with him through many lifetimes. I know he was just a really special soul. And my grandmother, who in many ways was my guardian and savior in some ways in this human world when I was a child, because she was able to show up for me in ways that my mother was not. Okay. And I know that she really loved me and really cared about me. And we had a very special relationship. Sometimes it was a little bit spicy, but I know she knows I loved her. And anyway, my dad is like, he's like, okay, now back to me. But oh my God, this is going to be an interesting episode. Anyway, okay, sorry, Dad. Here's the microphone, but I have to do the verbiage because they can't hear you. He's showing me that he's with his parents, and it's the sweetest thing because they're all kind of snuggled together. And he says the other thing that I recognize from crossing over, which I didn't really understand, I didn't really see because of the way that my parents were able to raise me, is just how much love there is between us. He said, I didn't always understand them, right? When I was in a body and when I was a child. And I had a very complicated relationship with my mother. Her way of disciplining me was, it just it didn't suit. I always knew that she loved me. Um, but he just says, honestly, I just didn't like her very much. Okay. And I never knew why. I never knew why. And as I'm crossing over here on the other side and we're having these long conversations, he's just showing me we just have these long, like philosophical conversations. He says, it's really helped me to understand her and her perspective and our lives and where she came from and what she brought to the table and how our stories intertwined. And he says, my dear Victoria, I have such a deep respect for her. I have such a deep respect for the soul who was my mother now. And I've learned so much from this time spent with her on the other side that I could never have learned in a human body. But he says also, and yet, if we hadn't shared that human connection together, like I wouldn't have had these questions to be curious about. And he's showing me that they're already sitting down. This is so sweet. And we've planned many other adventures together. Like we're really excited to roll up our sleeves and play together today, play together again, because he says, I learned so much for her and we learned so much from each other in this incarnation that we're ready to jump back in and learn more. And he said, that's often the way that we feel at the end of our lives, where um we when we can see things more clearly, we get really excited to hop back in and play some more. And I love that. So I hope that's landing with you. And then I feel my grandfather here. And again, I have such a close relationship with him and such a close relationship, obviously, with my father, who was his son. And what he's telling me, I have to hear it very clearly because it's very interesting. He was like, so interesting. Wow. He's telling me that when I left the planet, and my grandfather passed over when I was 9 years old, when I left the planet, there were things that felt unfinished and undone to me. I knew that my time in that body was done. And I was very clear. He said, I held on for a while. It wasn't super easy, but I also, understood as soon as, like he's saying, as soon as my soul let go of the container, it was very clear to me that my time was done and that those who I left behind would benefit from my untimely passing. He wasn't super young, but he was about 65. So it was young-ish. And he said, and this is the part that is sticking with me, he's like, I left to some degree the caretaking of my son with you. He said, I knew my wife, right, my grandmother, would not ever be able to hold or guide my offspring. He's showing me that my father was really difficult to parent. So I didn't see this side of him at all, but he said he was tough. We didn't know what to do with him a lot of the time. He just there was just a lot to him, they said, and we had our hands full, right? And I saw too so much potential in him. And I had so much pride in the things that he accomplished, but I worried sometimes about him, that the potential that his life would be empty. Oh, this is so sad what he's saying. But I knew that as I left that body, he had you. And I knew that his having you, his being with you, you being together, even if when I was crossed and I was past, you and you alone would serve to help him open his heart. And he says, my beautiful grandchild, and so much more. Because I remember many lifetimes with my beautiful grandfather, even though I didn't know him for many, many years in this particular body. I'm getting out of the thread. He says, he wants you to know that he loved you, your father loved you, and that you really did a beautiful job embodying everything that you needed to be to support him on his journey. He says you were firm with him, you were tough with him, but you were unwavering in your love for him in a way that he didn't always fully understand or appreciate, but has guided his heart or prepared his heart. That's the word. Is that the word, Gramps? Has prepared his heart for many incarnations to come. So you should feel very honored of the work that you've done in walking with this soul. And know that all is well, and we all love you very much, that we believe in you, and that we are standing fully and completely behind you as you take whatever steps forward in your life that you choose to take in the work, in making, I'm just going to get their damn words, in moving forward in the impact that you want to make now. They say that they stand behind me completely, that they love me, and that they're pleased to offer me, and hopefully listeners, if I end up publishing this, because who the hell knows, in your lives moving forward. Because just as I've shared how my loved ones are showing up for me, your loved ones are there for you too. And they have varying abilities and varying things that they're working on. And you can see we have varying relationships with all of them. And oftentimes we go to the other side looking for an unrequited need from the human side. And we want the spirit to come and give that to us. And they can't, not because they don't feel it, because we're not ready to receive it, right? Because we haven't healed. Okay. So be aware. If you don't have this experience yet, feel it inside yourself and trust they can't help but love you from the other side, because they see you as you really are, and they appreciate you, and they love you. And my Gramps is reminding me, and my guides are reminding me as well, that it is that deep bond of love that brought you together in the first place. It brought you into this human experience. It brought you towards every human being in your life, even the ones that you can't imagine why you would ever love them, because love is actually the only currency that there truly is. Okay. Not the attached kind, but the true kind. And that's what we're all made of. And that's what we all crave. Okay, I think I'm going to wind it down, but because it's my dad's birthday, and because in these family episodes, I have been repeatedly given the call to sing. There's been a lot of singing. Go back and listen to the episode with my grandfather, the episode with my father for Father's Day in 2023. Singing is involved. They want to sing again. And I thought I was going to sing happy birthday to my dad. But they are singing. My grandfather came in with a beautiful song that he used to sing to me when I was a child. So I'm going to be his voice and sing through him to me. And then I think I'm going to sing happy birthday to my beautiful father. So you are welcome to stop listening if you don't want the singing component to this podcast. But if you want to hear their beautiful message come through these lips, just hang right on. So here we go. And my Gramps and my spirit squad sings, "We're in love with you, Vicky. Say you love me too, or love us too, Vicky. No one else will do, Vicky. It's funny, but it's true." And my grandma just did this little soprano, and my dad did a little top hat dance. "Love you from the start, Vicky. Bless your little heart, Vicky. Every day will be so sunny with Vicky and me, or us." And I hope you guys can take in that song too, because it's true of each and every one of you. You are loved. And now I got to do one more thing, and then we're going to wind this one down. I'm going to sing to my beautiful father on his birthday. He says it's not super significant anymore. He says the birthday is the day that the humans left behind remember us. It's one of those memories, and we love to be honored. But we don't really worship that day, he said, because we understand that the soul is eternal, and every day is our birthday. Every day is our birthday. It's a new chance to start anew, and they're all the same. And he says, "I am no longer that person that was Jerome Shaw. And I recognize now that's just a little piece of the puzzle of who and what I really am. This soul spirit, higher self, whatever you want to call it, identity. It's just a little part of me. But he says, I appreciate and honor you, my dear daughter, if you want to celebrate. So here we go. This is maybe for me, maybe for him, maybe for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my beloved Dodd, because that was his nickname. Happy birthday to you and many more, because there will be more for all of us, because we get to keep playing this life game over and over again until we tire of it. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Vulnerable share today. Love you all. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for giving me the excuse to sit down in front of the microphone, because I probably wouldn't have done this on my own and talked to my dear dad and my spirit squad and my beautiful grandparents. And all of you know that you are loved, and all is well. And namaste.